Aquatail forces Rigo's first Protect Shield. The opponent then pivots out into this silly electric fish, well behind on energy in the one shield. For far too long, this Pokemon has been the bane of mine and so many trainers' lives. The opponent correctly shielded up the Scorching Sands, however they can't shield them all. It's time to get that silly electric fish out of here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we have an incredible battle submission from my good friend Rigo. Rigo is a very talented battler. He's often on the GBL leaderboards and reaches legend every single season. And today, he's going to be taking a look at the 3 most hyped up shadow Pokemon for this season in Go Battle League. Last season, all 3 of these Pokemon were nothing more than a meme pick, all ranked well outside the top 200 on pvpoke. However, a simple move update has made all 3 of them go from a meme pick to a dream pick. The 3 Pokemon we're talking about are Shadow Gallade, Shadow Hippowdon, and Shadow Feraligatr. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we lead Gallade into public enemy number 1, aka Wallface. Last season, this wasn't the worst matchup, despite us being a fighter and then being a rock and steel type. However, this season, with a very quick energy generating move in the form of Psycho Cut, we are now very advantageous. Rigo forced a Protect Shield with the close combat. The opponent returns fire with the Flamethrower, which we do respect. Rigo fires off close combat number 2. The opponent then looked to catch the close combat onto Azumarill, but Rigo says not today, trainer. Fires off the Leaf Blade. Doing over half of bulky Azumarill's HP, the opponent looks for the bubble farm down, but Gallade refuses to die, reaches Leaf Blade number 2 and Azumarill straight in and straight out. The opponent sends back out Bastiodon, commit to the smackdown farm down. However, Bastiodon, don't worry good buddy, we've got another counter for you. We send out the Hippo tearing through Bastiodon with the sand attacks. Rigo heavily over farms, fires off the Scorching Sand, double super effective, hi Bastiodon, bye Bastiodon. Out comes Chestnut. In theory, the remainder of Rigo's team is core broken by Chestnut. However, undeterred, we fire off the Scorching Sands, getting the attack drop. We pivot into Feraligatr. Rigo, still with 1 Protect Shield, too high behind, shields up the incoming Frenzy Plant, gonna return fire with the Ice Beam, and that is gonna be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Rigo's team very strong into Bastiodon regardless of where it gets aligned. In the next battle we see a Nightmare lead, the Kentucky Fried Chicken, Bird of Death into Gallade. We see the pivot into the Hippo, drawing out Superior. Things have gone from bad to worse. Superior completely walls this energy. Well, I say walls, these rock type weather balls do hit for neutral, but you can see 2 just about get it below half health. The opponent heavily over farms before firing off the Frenzy Plant, which will be securing the knockout. Rigo, not sitting in the best spot, chooses to send out Feraligatr, looking for the 1 shield, Shadow Claw farm all the way down, and hope that Gator is able to core break the remainder of the opponent's team. Unfortunately, as the opponent heavily over farmed, it's actually going to cost Rigo 2 Protect Shields. He's now got 2 very glassy Shadow Pokemon with no Protect Shields, too high behind the opponent. Sends out their own Gallade. Rigo fires off 1 Shadow Claw and the Hydro Cannon, forcing the opponent's first Protect Shield. Rigo, again, 1 and throws Gallade. Only takes 4 Psycho Cuts to reach the Leaf Blade. Are we going to see the attempted catch? Yes, we are. Stay in school, kids, and learn to count. Despite Rigo making the very nice catch, we're still in a very rough position. Rigo farms up, looks to fire off the Leaf Blade, knocking out the opposing Gallade, but the opponent returned the favour, making a very nice catch in return onto Talonflame, catching the double resisted move. We then pivot back out into Gator. Rigo, recognising the game's over, is just going to tank the fly and concede the match. GG's to this opponent. Of course, Rigo could have nuked that Firebird out of the sky with the Hydro Cannon, however the opposing Gallade would have just took us out with a Leaf Blade. In the next battle, I didn't actually edit this like this. Rigo started the recording late and this is how I got it sent. Don't worry Rigo, I do think you're a potato, but I do this all the time. We see Gallade into Clefable. Despite them being a fairy and us being a fighter, this isn't the worst matchup due to Gallade heavily outpacing Clef. Clefable of course is using a fairy quick move, however Fairy Wind is a clone of Psycho Cut, Mud Shot, Thunder Shock, etc. So more for energy generation than fast move pressure. You can see Gallade not in danger of getting farmed down. Rigo takes his shield advantage, sends out Gator, looks for the Shadow Claw farm down. The opponent makes the last second Moonblast. Rigo refusing to commit his final Protect Shield. The opponent near one-shots us. They then send out Rigo. Rigo also extremely glassy. The Shadow Hydro Cannon near one-shots the opponent in return. We then pivot into the Hippo gets the sand attack snipe. The opponent's final Pokemon is Toxicroak, and Toxicroak's going to be straight in and straight out. Get that Toxicroak out of here, and Rigo takes the dub. In the next battle, we see some very nice spice from the opponent in the form of Heliolisk. Even in the Ultra League, Heliolisk is insanely glassy, so one close combat would probably knock it out. For this match and all the remaining matches of the season, Rigo farms up to the close combat baits with the Leaf Blade. The opponent return fire with the breaking swipe, fishing for the debuff. However, no debuff will be saving this opponent. Rigo again farms up to the close combat baits again with the Leaf Blade, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. Rigo actually happy to go all in on Gallade, looking to get that boom. We shield up the breaking swipe. Rigo throws one Psycho Cut and the close combat. Close combat claims its victim. Get that Heliolisk off my screen. Out comes Talonflame, aka the Kentucky Fried Chicken. Bird of Death Rigo sends out the Hippo. The opponent unaware of just how quickly we generate energy. Rigo goes straight for the Rock-type Weather Ball. Getting that big boom. Get that Talonflame out of here. However, unfortunately, the opponent's final Pokemon is the Decidueye. And despite Rigo landing back-to-back booms, I think we're about to get boomed in return. Frenzy Plant booms our Feraligatr. Rigo returns fire with the Rock-type Weather Ball. Rock-type Weather Ball doesn't get the job done, and it's the opponent that's going to land back-to-back booms and take that dub. Very, very fun battle from both trainers. GG's. Heading into the next battle, we see the Shadow Gallade mirror, Shadow and Shadow Crime. Both trainers are going to be looking to go straight Leaf Blade all the way, both trainers. Looking to overfarm, Rigo fires off the Leaf Blade first. The opponent even doesn't shield. Rigo then makes a very heads-up play, sending out Feraligatr. We sneak the Shadow Claw through, getting the snipe. Very, very nicely done. Rigo's managed to bank energy on Gallade and give Gator a running start. The opponent clearly has no response as they send out Empoleon. We're hitting for neutral with the Shadow Claws and resisting the Steel Wings. We fire off the Hydro Cannon. Despite it being resisted, it gets this Penguin below half health. The opponent can return fire with the Drill Peck, but Drill Peck doesn't get the job done. Gator able to withstand the damage, reach Hydro Cannon number 2. This will be securing the knockout or forcing a shield. The opponent chooses to completely sack the Penguin, putting all their hopes and dreams on the back of a 2-shield wall rain. Switch timer pops up. We see the instant pivot back into Gallade. Gallade invests the protection on the incoming Icicle Sphere and going to start spamming out these Leaf Blades at an alarming rate. The first one, of course, forces a Protect Shield. The super spammy Gallade already at the second Leaf Blade. The opponent had a 2-0 shield advantage and they now find themselves all shield down. Wall Rain forced to dump energy. Icicle Sphere, of course, will be securing the knockout. We've still got a full health Hippo. However, defensively, our typing isn't the best, but offensively, we have some very nice coverage. We're weak to, of course, ice, as well as other common threats, such as water and grass. In comes the Hippo. We fire off a super effective Rock-type Weather Ball, but the opponent able to withstand the damage. This Icicle Sphere is going to come very close to knocking out Rigo, recognising we're not going to reach another charge. He pivots back out into Gator, able to reach the Hydro Cannon on the CMP tie. And Rigo dances around very well to pick up a big dub. GG's. In the next battle, we see some Shadow and Shadow Crime. Gallade into Dragonair. Dragon Breath going to tear us apart. Rigo farms up to the close combat baits with the Leaf Blade. Dragonair incredibly glassy, going to be putting up that Protect Shield. And we see the pivot into Hippowdon. Aquatail this season did get a buff, now doing 5 more damage, and we're going to see Rigo respect it. The opponent do fire off the Aquatail and then pivot out into the ever annoying silly electric fish. But behind energy, this is not a good matchup. The sparks are resisted. We fire for Scorching Sands, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. Rigo happy to invest his own Protect Shield and go all shields down. The Hippo, smelling that big boom opportunity, fires off the Scorching Sands. Scorching Sands, massive overkill. Get that fish off my screen. If the opponent sends back out Dragonair, will outpace the Rock-type Weather Ball. The opponent recognises that. Opt to send out Vigoroth. We look to fire off the Scorching Sands, however, just about get outpaced. The Hippo's Bolt going to be put to the test. The Hippo holds strong, withstanding the damage and reaches the Scorching Sands. Scorching Sands lands for heavy neutral damage. We then see the aggressive pivot back into Gallade, drawing out Dragonair, but Dragonair is going to be straight in and straight out. Close combat secures the knockout. Back out comes Vigoroth. Vigoroth does get the resisted counter farm down. However, we've got a full health Feraligatr, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see Gallade into Licky, far too thicky. This really is bulk versus glass cannon. Of course, Rigo going to have to invest the protection on the body slams. Just the licks are doing absurd damage. Rigo farms up to the back-to-back close combats and full sends. Does the opponent respect the damage? close combat, forced a Protect Shield, but Gallade says there's plenty more of where that came from. The second close combat secures the knockout. Licky might think it's thick, but evidently Gallade says you, sir, aren't thick enough. We reset our debuff, sending out Hippowdon into Charjabug, the opponent. Pivot out into Blastoise. We full send the Scorching Sands, getting Blastoise below half health. Blastoise going to fire off the Hydro Cannon. I love this no shield from Rigo. This sets up a perfect opportunity for Feraligatr to come in, get the Shadow Claw farm down. We might be weak to electric, but Shadow Hydro Cannon's going to hit like a chuck. Rigo even going for the no shield, looking to flex. Hydro Cannon gets us below half health. Feraligatr leaves absolutely loaded. Back out comes Charjabug. We go for one Shadow Claw and the Hydro Cannon. The first one will be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield once again. One and throw, and this Hydro Cannon is going to do massive damage. Gator hitting like a truck. We then see the pivot back into Gallade. These battles are incredibly sped up. Obviously, I need to get my eyes tested, as this isn't even a Volt Switch Charjabug. They're running Spark. I think Volt Switch is objectively better due to the energy generation, but regardless, Rigo shield up the X's, survived the Sparks, reached the Leaf Blade, and Gallade is a Charjabug counter confirmed. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see the battle of the Psychic fighting types. Metachan used to be the top meta dog, however, Metachan, your reign is over as Gallade is now here to take your spot. Rigo farms up, fires off the Leaf Blade, despite not getting same type attack bonuses, hitting like a truck. I think it is absurd. They were able to reach this in just 8 turns, and Leaf Blade is one of the best moves in the game with a whopping 2.0 DPE. The opponent switches out into Skarmory. Rigo fires off the neutral close combat, and just look at the damage output. Holy! Rigo answers this Skarmory save switch with the ever-hungry spammy Hippo. We go straight for the Rock-type Weather Ball, forcing a Protect Shield off the opponent. We now find ourselves in the 1-to-1 shield, and Rigo says, fuck it, you can have my Hippo. The opponent fires off the Brave Bird, lowering their own defense. Rigo can now comfortably send in the Gator, commit to the very nice Shadow Claw farm down, and Metachan finds itself in a very disadvantageous position with nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Back out comes Metachan. We fire off the Hydro Cannon, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. Trainer, what do you have in the back? The opponent shielded up. Rigo is going to shield up the Psychic. We're going to be able to Shadow Claw farm all the way down, and the opponent is going to concede the match. Heading into the next one. I believe this is the first we've ever seen in GBL a fighter that absolutely dominates former meta kingpin Azumarill. Due to Gallade's quick energy generation and access to that Leaf Blade, you can see the Leaf Blade does absurd damage to one of the bulkiest mon in the format. Rigo will have to invest the Protect Shield first, however, if Azumarill wants to play out the one shield, is very quickly going to find out that we just fire outspeed, and Rigo farms up, fires off the first Leaf Blade, forcing the opponent's first Protect Shield. Gallade already at the next Leaf Blade. Surely the opponent doesn't 2-shield. Holy, this now sets up an opportunity where Gallade could potentially shield this move up, look to Psycho Cut farm down, and just boom something in the back. Rigo invest that Protect Shield. Game, what is going on? We get a huge amount of lag. Rigo banks the close combat, sends out the Gator, looking to snipe. Unfortunately, Azumarill makes the last second move, but it's only an Ice Beam, which is resisted and doesn't do much. The opponent then sends out Lycanroc. Lycanroc is going to be sacrificed to the Pokeod's Hydro Cannon, gets the knockout. Get that Lycanroc out of here. The opponent's final Pokemon is Salazzle, and as much as I love the Spice, it's going to be straight in and straight out. GG's, and thanks for playing. Unfortunately, heading into the final battle of the video, we've seen Gallade into Shadow, Wish Daddy Cash. Another very dominant matchup. The opponent tries their luck at catching a Leaf Blade onto Skarmory. Rigo holds his energy. Instead, full sends the close combat, landing for huge damage. Rigo then banks the Leaf Blade for the road and pivots out into the Hippo. Looks like the opponent just isn't prepared for how spammy we are. We fire off the Rock-type Weather Ball before the opponent even fire off a charge move. Of course they're going to invest that Protect Shield as they've got so much energy. I think we just let this go. Okay, Rigo, I'll let you cook, buddy. Rigo then doesn't fire off the Rock-type Weather Ball. I'm not entirely sure what Rigo's doing here, but we're going to let him cook. Brave Bird secures the knockout. We now send out Gallade, go for the resisted Psycho Cut farm down. We know the opponent won't be returning with Wish Cash, so what is that third? The opponent sends out Knockdown. Knockdown is not great for our Feraligatr due to their normal type, and they are going to double resist the Shadow Claws. We force the final Protect Shield with the close combat and send out the Gator. Rigo invests his final Protect Shield on the incoming Sky attack, and we are in such a tricky spot. Rigo has no Protect Shields, too high behind, and we need to take out 2 full health Pokemon. The opponent banks some energy, send out Wish Daddy Cash. Despite this being Shadow on Shadow crime, Hydro Cannon doesn't secure the knockout. I think what Rigo should have done here is tank the Mud Bomb, look to farm up as much energy as physically possible, because we're going to have to fire off 2 Hydro Cannons onto this knockdown. However, regardless, we're going to take the loss. You can't win them all. GG's to that opponent. Huge shout out to my good friend Rigo for submitting a very, very fun showcase, showing 3 of the newly buffed Shadow Pokemon, who I honestly think are all phenomenal this season. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, much like Rigo did, a link to my battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.